Hey Duck fans, this is Kurt. Welcome to another FishDuck one-on-one. Well, who says kickers aren't real football players? From 2005 through 2008, Oregon was blessed to have one of the stronger legs in the country, a homegrown kid from Portland living out the dream of playing for the Ducks, Matt Evensen. With booming kickoffs, a few choice tackles, and a lucky bounce or two off the crossbar, Matt Evensen will forever be remembered as one of the best kickers at Oregon. Today he's still kicking the snot out of the ball as both the kicker and the punter with the Berlin Rebels of the German Football League. Joining us all the way from Deutschland, Guten Tag, Herr Evensen. Wie geht's du?
Wie geht's?
Did you grow up a Duck, or was the house divided in the Evensen clan?
Well, it's funny you should ask. My dad was a Beaver. And so I kind of grew up watching the Beavers, but never really had any association with either team. My mom went to Portland State, and so did my brother. So there was never really any association with the Ducks. But when I got into high school, there was several of my friends who were Duck fans, and I was playing soccer all my life, and high school time, I was asked by the football coach to be the kickoff guy. And so I started doing both that and soccer. And I did well enough that my senior year, Coach Niels Mbukos, who was the coach at the time, kind of came and watched me and wanted me to come walk on to the team. So that's kind of where it started for me. I was a walk-on, so you're not guaranteed a spot, obviously. My freshman year, I tried out in the fall, and Jared Siegel was still there. So they actually told me to come back in the spring, and I ended up walking on in the spring. Freshman year, I was just a regular student that first fall, and so I got to sit in the stands and kind of see the field from a different perspective. And then once I was on the team, it was pretty cool, because then, you know, when the fans would rush the field, I'd see some of my buddies down there, and they'd come up to me and they'd want to get my autograph. And so it was cool. You know, it was a good experience to have both sides.
Do you remember your first kick at Autzen Stadium? Like, how wide-eyed were you looking around saying, there's 60,000 people watching me right now?
You know, I don't remember my first kick. I do remember, I should say, I don't remember my first kick at Autzen. I do remember my first kick for the Ducks.
Okay.
It was a road game. We were at Houston. And that was actually the same weekend that Hurricane Katrina had hit.
Right.
And so we were playing at the Texans Stadium. And so they gave tickets out to all these people who were being brought over to get away from the hurricane. And playing in that stadium, getting to kick off there was pretty exciting. And then, I mean, I guess I was considered a gray shirt freshman because I came in the spring. But I mean, that was pretty exciting. We won that game, and yeah, kind of just from there on, I couldn't get away from that feeling, kickoff.
Well, when you came to Oregon, there was a bit of a rotation going on with all the special teams guys. At punter, there was Matt Dragich and Aaron Knowles, that position being rather fluid. With kicker, as you mentioned, when you first came in, there was Jared Siegel, and then Paul Martinez, who started as a punter, then got switched over to being a kicker. And eventually, you kind of pushed your way into the rotation as the kickoff guy, and then eventually became the place kicker as well. When you kind of prepare as the main kickoff guy, and suddenly you're thrust into being the field goal kicker as well, because I know Paul got hurt a little bit. Is there a shift in the mentality, the approach to the game?
There is and there isn't. Obviously, being a freshman and getting to start as a kickoff, that was a great experience for me. But then there was a game, actually, Paul was injured. I believe it was the Arizona State game, and we were on the road. And he mentioned to me that he wasn't feeling good in warm-ups. and then it turns out he wasn't able to play that game. So that was the first game I actually got to start as both kickoff and place kicker. And I didn't really feel the pressure. It was more of just the opportunity to do well as a freshman. And I actually had one of my better games. I kicked a 51-yard field goal that game, and we won. And it gave me an opportunity for that type of level of competition. And then obviously Paul got healthy again, and so he went back to kicking. But
Billy, Matt Evensen pulling double duty tonight in addition to his normal kickoff duties. He is also kicking field goals in place of Paul Martinez. I was told that Martinez hurt his thigh earlier in the week. They thought he was okay, but he reported tightness during warm-ups before the game. They were initially going to let him kick the short ones. We'll see if how short it needs to be in order to get him in. That last one wasn't that far out.
Yeah, Martinez was trying to give it a go during warm-ups and kept grabbing the leg.
You know, it gives you an opportunity to play at that level and to be ready. Whenever you got to be ready at any time as a kicker. So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that Arizona State game, and the funny thing about kickers is oftentimes, you've heard all the jokes about kickers. I'm sure you've probably thrown a few of them out there as well. Oh, kickers aren't real football players, and blah blah blah. And you never really think about the kicker until they're hurt, and then you go, oh crap, what if the game comes down to the end? Are they actually going to have a guy who can knock it through? And you stepped in that ASU game, and you were killing the ball. I mean, 51-yard field goal in your first real opportunity to kick. I think you had, 4 field goals in that game or something like that? So,
yeah, I had 4 field goals. I was 3 of 4. And, there's one thing I loved playing Arizona State. It was we got to play there 3 times, and as a matter of fact, we never lost to Arizona State, which is a nice feat. But just kicking there, it's so warm and just kind of that high desert air, and it's always night game, so it's pretty exciting lights. It's as a kicker, yeah, like you said, you have to be ready no matter what.
What is it that makes Oregon special teams so special?
I think it's just you have some coaches who are offensive minded or defensive minded, but at Oregon, special teams is always a part of the game. I mean, there's 3 aspects of football, and if you want to be good and dominant, you have to be efficient in all areas. And special teams it's important. You have to, like on kickoff, I mean, you want to have the fastest guys on the field because you got to get down and cover. Same with punt return. It's just, it's some guys think of, special teams, it's just another thing you go and you take the down off. But I mean, Oregon, you're always full throttle. And when Coach Bellotti was there, he'd always say, special teams, you have to be special. And, Oregon continuously does that. Do
you have a particular game or a particular kick that always stands out in your memory as a personal favorite?
I'd say my favorite game was playing at Michigan.
That's a good one.
We went to the big house, and we put a hurting on them. And just the whole aspect of that trip, I mean, Michigan had just lost to Appalachian State, and so there's all this talk, okay, they're going to come back and beat Oregon. And, we went in there and did our job and just closed them out. I mean, Dennis had the Statue of Liberty twice.
That was so awesome to watch.
One of my fondest memories was Jeremiah Johnson brought out the hammer. And we dropped the hammer on Michigan, and that's probably one of my fondest memories. And the Oregon fans traveled great. The 105,000 people that were there, by the third quarter, you could hear Oregon fans cheering, and so it was a great experience.
Well, walk me through the preparation and the execution techniques involved in both going through a kickoff as well as a field goal.
essentially the most important thing is your steps. If you are approaching the ball and your steps aren't correct, you're going to start to stutter, and then you're going to lose power, and then you're probably not going to make good contact on the ball. So that's the most important thing. Then obviously once your steps are correct, hitting the ball in the sweet spot, essentially the lower third of the ball, and then getting that hang time, so your guys can get down and cover. You don't necessarily have to kick it to a touchback every time, because if you can get hang time and your guys cover inside the 20, that's almost better. But so yeah, as far as kickoffs, field goals are definitely a little more different. Same mentality as far as steps, but you need to have good hip rotation, and essentially you want your hips. Your hips are what you're aiming at. If your hips are aimed at the goalpost, then you're going to kick the ball that direction. One of the biggest issues I've seen just with helping other kickers and myself was if my hips are aimed to the right, you're usually ahead of the ball and you're not going to make good contact. And if you're behind, you're going to over-rotate and you're going to miss to the left. So place kicking, though, and it's also a mental game. I mean, you can't have negative thoughts, and really just keeping your head down, following through, and making it feel like practice is what I try to do.
Does icing a kicker ever actually work?
You know, I think it can work if the kicker doesn't have the right mentality. And so, yeah, like you said, cracking jokes is a good way to take your mind off of it. I think actually that first game where I kicked at Arizona State, they tried to ice me. It was right before halftime, and they called the timeout. And, you know, I went over, I was talking with Coach Bellotti. I think Brady Leaf was there. He was the holder for me at the time. And you know, just kind of telling jokes, keep your mind off of it, and then you just go out there and do it like you practice.
When a kicker's making a tackle, and you made some pretty nice and some pretty big ones actually, when you're getting back to the sideline, are you upset that the kickoff coverage didn't do their job and it came down to you having to make the tackle, or are you bragging about the fact like, hey guys, check out that sweet tackle I just made?
Well, you know, yeah, I had some tackles when I was at Oregon, and I actually enjoy tackling. It was a fun part of the game, especially on kickoff. But yeah, obviously you're not happy when you have to make the tackle, because that means you got past 10 other guys.
Right.
But one thing that I was actually pretty proud of is that I think there was only one guy that ever scored on a kickoff against us my 4 years. So I was able to, if they did get by, I was able to get a tackle on the guy. I wouldn't say I was bragging to anybody about my tackles because they weren't always the prettiest, but I was able to get there and stop them, slow them down at least. So
Okay, come on, you weren't turning around and telling Coach Pelham to put you in at linebacker?
Yeah, right.
When it's coming down to that last second kick to win or lose the game, is it different? Or do you just have to block all of that out?
You know, as a kicker, you have to enjoy that moment, just because it kind of comes with the territory. Obviously, you're going to either be a scapegoat if you miss it, or the hero if you make it. So for me, I really enjoyed that pressure situation, and there was a couple times where I was involved in that. They didn't probably come out as well as I had hoped, but you know, you look forward to that opportunity because you have a chance to help your team win, and yeah.
So you went from a high school soccer player to a high school kicker to a walk-on at Oregon to the full-time kicker to now continuing your kicking career. You're playing international. So what's the experience like of getting to go overseas and still getting a chance to play professional football?
You know, it's great. It's a great experience. I'm enjoying my time over here. After college, I had some opportunities to go to a couple of tryouts, talk to a couple of NFL coaches. And, you know, as far as kicking, it's kind of a difficult position to get into just because some of those guys have been around forever. So your opportunities are few and far between. So when I was contacted by this coach from Germany, you know, I jumped at the opportunity to continue playing. So yeah, just being over here in Berlin, being able to play, and just continuing my dream of pursuing the next level. I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Right. And I know you're also doing some punting over there too. So is this your first experience punting? Did you do that in high school as well, or did they teach you that at Oregon?
You know, I actually was, I punted in high school, and that's actually where Oregon was looking at me out of high school, was as a punter. So I walked on as a punter and did dual kicking as well. And I actually remember a specific day at camp when I was punting with Matt Dragic and Aaron Knowles. And Coach Bilotti kind of came up to me and was watching me punt, and I wasn't doing the best. And the next thing I hear over my shoulder is, "Evensen, you're a kicker from now on." So that was an eye-opener. But, you know, being over here and punting, definitely, it comes back to you. It's definitely a different technique from kicking and punting. But, you know, just have an opportunity to punt here, doing pretty well. It's fun to be kind of the all-around special teams guy.
So when you initially came in as a punter, I need to ask, because I always hear about it a lot. If practices are inside the mow, are you guys intentionally bouncing the ball off the roof?
Well, you know, I don't think the roof's high enough. But, you know, definitely, you know, it's a good punt when you're hitting a roof. It's probably not the best for the return guy because he doesn't get a chance to catch it. But
right,
are
you guys like trying to knock tiles off the ceiling or something? Or
you're definitely, yeah. There's kind of a V up there, and you're definitely trying to go through the V. So yeah, there's definitely a competition always.
Anything you want to say to the Oregon fans who still remember your days of kicking the crap out of the ball in Eugene?
You know, I just want to thank all the Duck supporters, obviously, over the years. When I was there, I had a great experience, enjoyed every minute of it. I really enjoyed watching the last 2 years of this Duck team. You know, I try to stay in contact with some of the kickers. Rob Beard, a friend of mine, wish him the best of luck this year. And, you know, I hope I get an opportunity to watch some of these games online while I'm still over here. And, you know, obviously go Ducks.
Absolutely. Well, direct from Deutschland, Dankeschön, Herr Evensen. Thank you for the time. We appreciate it. Best of luck on the remainder of your season with the Berlin Rebels, correct?
Yes.
Berlin Rebels of German Football League. Matt Evensen from Oregon Duck. Thank you so much for the time, and go Ducks.
Thanks. Go Ducks.